Hello everyone. It's been, I think, about a week since I put the 2000 subscribers Ask Me Anything out. And a lot of new subscribers have actually shown up since, but that is due to Suzerain, which has been brought in new people. So welcome everybody on the channel and everybody who's joined since. So you get to see my face for the first time. So this is going to be probably somewhat lengthy, so do sit back, relax, and I've tried organizing the questions a little bit and to get to them. So if I seem to be looking to the side, that is just me peeking at the screen to figure out what's the next thing I'm supposed to be talking about. How old am I? I am 49 years old, almost 50, but still younger than Jingles. Who I am a massive fan of. So if you don't know the mighty Jingles, then I can thoroughly recommend checking out his channel. Where was I born? In Germany. I'm not telling you exactly where I was born because that might be a security question somewhere. Generally, if somebody puts in a security question like what's your mother's maiden name or where were you born, I usually generate a random string of characters and numbers to put in there because, you know, it's an easy target for social engineering to reset your passwords. The unfortunate downside of that is that if you ever have to answer that on the phone to a support person, things might get a little dicey. But anyway, yeah, I was born in, I'd say southern Germany, but I grew up in the north. The pendant I was wearing last time when I made the video with the bird skull, that's a carved pendant. Does that have a religious meaning? No, I just like the style. So that would have been, as you can see, I do like the sort of Nordic style quite a bit. So I'm just experimenting with various things to see how it works out for me. What's my favorite soda? I don't actually drink soda. I haven't been drinking soda for a very long time. When I was young, I would have absolutely Sprite, and probably still today. I used to drink quite a bit of Coke. Mostly at work and after work, but for a long time I haven't been drinking any soda. So I generally drink mostly water during the day. I do have a water filter here, and sometimes some tea. Coffee, not any. I used to love coffee. I really got to love coffee in Australia because the coffee in Australia is amazing. I came here from Germany, and the height of coffee in Germany was Starbucks, right? So I came here, and one of my first team leads when I started working here was a British man, and he when he heard that, and he was very much into his coffee. So when he heard that, he showed me a bit around and said, "No, this is real coffee," and I haven't touched Starbucks since. I couldn't. It's dishwater. But since COVID, I can't really drink coffee anymore. It doesn't. My digestive system does not agree with it. So unfortunately, I had to stop coffee, which was not easy. Continuing on this sort of heavier side, how am I making a living? So I used to work in IT, but I quit about 2 years ago now for health reasons because of long COVID, chronic fatigue, and various other problems that came with it. High blood pressure, stress-related issues, joint pains, muscle pains, all kinds of stuff. So I just couldn't get through a day anymore. I would break down after a half-hour meeting and had to lay down and rest, and it just wasn't pretty. So I quit that. I am currently living off savings and investments mostly. And people were asking, do I have a Patreon? I don't yet because I don't want to sort of do the take your hat out and make the rounds kind of thing. I feel like if somebody wants to do a monthly subscription of some sort, because there's way too many of these things out there to begin with, if somebody wants to do that, then there has to be additional value. So I've been thinking about that in the past. I've experimented a bit with YouTube. The problem is with the systems on YouTube that worst case, you get charged the road tax twice. So if you do something from an Apple device, then Apple will take their third, and then Google will take, or Alphabet will take their third. And I just don't, I feel like the sheer amount of fees on these things is too high to necessarily, and it's not transparent for the person who gives the tip or subscription or whatever it is. So the other thing is that I can't make videos on YouTube for members ad-free. So I was like, then why? But I have been looking into this before, and I might bring it up again. I just have to come up with a good concept. I was thinking of, especially design-wise, maybe there's merch opportunities. I've looked at a few things, so maybe at some point I'll bring that back up again. But for now, I'm simply looking at ad incomes. And as you may know or may not know, I'm a bit of a Luddite when it comes to ads. YouTube constantly scolds me for not sticking ads every 5 minutes into my 90-minute videos. But I say, no, I will not do this. Because I grew up in the 80s, and when you watch TV, commercial TV, that was a new thing. When I watched TV, effectively you had a 30-minute TV series, like for kids or something, like a 30-minute episodes, and every 5 to 10 minutes you had a 5-minute ad break, and it is just abysmal. I hated it with all fibers of my being. So no, I will not be putting ads in the middle of videos because I find that intrusive. It removes immersion, and I usually didn't have them at the end either, but YouTube doesn't allow me to not do that. So as long as YouTube allows me not to stick ads in the middle of the videos, I will not be doing that. So for YouTube, there are different ways to make money on YouTube, obviously. Ad revenue being one of them. And obviously with the size that the channel currently is at, there's absolutely no way that I could live off it. But the way that sort of my channel works is that it's a flywheel, right? So I don't have the one video that makes 1 million views, but instead, if I make 1,000 videos and each one has 1,000 views, then there's the 1 million views. And the advantage of that is that it sort of keeps going, which means that the more people come in, they pick up a video, they say, oh, there's a whole 100-part series behind this. I'm going to start watching that. And even if they drop out at episode 20, but it's sort of, the more there is, the more it builds up. So I'm definitely looking at, or I obviously need to look at making enough money to live off this eventually, but I am not in financial dire straits by any means whatsoever. So I am German, we plan ahead. For now, for the foreseeable future, I will continue doing what I'm doing, but obviously I will be looking into ways to grow the channel as well and see. And that's been since I got back to making videos regularly, like more close to six videos a week on average. Things have grown noticeably more now. YouTube is very unforgiving when you drop off for a while, and unfortunately for health reasons, I did have to. So I'm going to try and maintain that, and we'll see how that goes. My work and educational background. I have a diploma in, you could probably translate that to business information technology. And I used to work as a software engineer for about 27 years since, I graduated high school and I had to do either, I would have had to do military service back then, but you could object to military service, in which case you had to do something else. And I actually worked for 13 months in an aged care facility, which was an experience and a very, very sobering one in many ways. So that was worth it. But after that, it was sort of the high time of the late 90s, where the option was either to go to university for 5 years and study. But I had actually earned some money during my time working in the aged care, and that means I was actually, I would have not earned anything. I mean, university in Germany is free, so you don't have to go into student loans, but you still have the expenses for materials, books, accommodation, food, travel, everything else, right? So it's not it's not insubstantial, the amount of expense that you have for like a 5-year university degree. Which meant I said, no, I'm just going to go and work. So I did my diploma, and I worked as a software engineer slash architect for the last 27 years. My last role was quality assurance and DevOps in an enterprise environment. And that's also how I got to Australia. So people were asking, how did you move to Australia? Yeah, I did find a job here, and I moved here 16 years ago. Started, and I have been working in that one job in Australia until 2 years ago, when I had to quit for health reasons. But I like it in Sydney very much. It's a great city, and Australia is a great country. It's very friendly people. I've been speaking English mostly at work in Germany as well, because a lot of the companies I was working in before I left was in English, and were English companies, and English was just a language that was spoken at times inside. So that was not a big difference for me anyway. And I have a house here now and a family, so definitely staying in Sydney. Wrapping up, oh no, there's more personal stuff. Do my political opinions impact gameplay? Well, I would argue to a degree, yes. Now, obviously, when I'm making series, I have a storyboard, I have a character design, I have things in mind, right? So, for example, in Suzerain, when I'm playing as Anton Rain does not necessarily share my political views. That said, I am obviously at some point, I'm respecting their character sheets, let me put it that way, as much as possible, but sometimes something just slips through, right? So I would say yes to a degree. It does have an impact on things, decisions in games maybe, but I do also enjoy just playing something that's completely sort of against my convictions sometimes, especially on the villainous side. It can just be great fun, and to sort of let your dark side out at times. But I do try in general to stick to the character sheet and the storyboards. My opinion of the European Union. Okay. Now, I haven't been living in Europe for a long time, 16 years roundabout. Pretty much this 16 years. What's my personal opinion of the European Union? I think the European Union is, or the administration thereof, I do like the unified idea of Europe, and the sort of people seeing themselves as Europeans, but there's a lot of caveats on that. I think the bureaucratic structure in Europe is deeply undemocratic and corrupt, and it is fostering corruption to a large degree. It is detached from the needs of the citizens, and just a political vehicle that I am very much not fond of personally. Now, I don't vote anymore, and I don't live anymore in Europe, so I can have these views relatively freely. But I see a lot of attacks in Europe on free speech, especially, that are very concerning, and I think there are going to have to be changes at some point. Germany has profited from the European system a lot by having a common market and by being able to sell in common currency against countries that could no longer support their own economy by devaluing their currency. So there have been, like, if you think of Greece and what went down there have been some problems. I think the European support for the war of NATO against Russia is a huge mistake, and I would almost argue a catastrophic mistake. And I also think that Europe, due to its policies, due to its transatlantic connections, and due to its detached political class, especially on the European theater, is paying the price for globalist imperial adventurism, like with migrant crises and economic downturns, it's easy for the US to say, oh, we must block all oil imports from Russia, because the US doesn't import any oil from Russia. Europe did. And the economic fallout for the people on the ground. Plus, there's a large drive towards war. And I think there's a massive missed opportunity after the end of the Cold War to start to build a new Europe, to build an independent Europe together with all European countries. Instead, we have followed the sort of globalist path, Europe has lost a lot and is, in my personal opinion, both politically and economically in a very, very difficult place. So I obviously still have family there. I do hope that everything works out and we can find ways to create peace again. But I think in order for that to happen, people will need to use their democratic vote to enact change. And as long as there's a majority of people who are always voting for the same party because that's what they've always done, things haven't gotten bad enough yet for things to change. So we will see where that gets us. Let me scroll down. We have one more on the personal or political views and items. The Germans and their relationship with history. Now that's obviously a difficult one, given that we have been in 2 world wars and arguably started 1, maybe 2, depending on who you ask. Although I would argue that we have not started the first one, but that's a different story. As such, I think for many Germans, you tend to look back at history as starting in 1945. And I think that's necessarily just a German thing. I think a lot of people that I've talked to in the Western world see their history as starting in the 20th century. Everything before that is sort of a weird ancient tale of myth and legend that nobody really knows about, which is very fascinating because if you talk to people you find that in Eastern Europe, for example, or people from Russia or people from Asian countries are often way more interested and aware of their historical roots. In Germany, there was this sort of generational shame, like we did a bad thing, and that is very true. We did, because it wasn't just one person who started the Second World War. It was one person with large support in the population, and you can't deny that, right? People stood in the streets raising their hands. And even later on, you could close your eyes and pretend you didn't see what was going on. But we did that. Now that is diminishing, and people are starting to see starting to say more and more that this is history. We should not be held accountable for that sort of thing. I agree. But what I think we should be held accountable for is to stand for not having this sort of thing happen again, right? And I'm not talking directly about the resurgence of yet another bad mustache man. I don't think you can say his name on YouTube. I'm not going to try. But we've done things like for example, the German government has been starting to support war starting back in Yugoslavia. We are an open and outspoken supporter for genocide. And this is not my words, it's United Nations words. And I think that's an absolute travesty. We should be the people who say, we did that thing once and we've learned not to ever do it again. And we will not close our eyes on it, and not as a population, but on a political side. I said, we will not close our eyes to that. And we will absolutely call this out wherever we see this. Unfortunately, that's not the case. But I think history is a very, very important, maybe the most important topic that you should be taught at school. Because if you don't know where you're coming from and you don't know, because nothing happens in a vacuum, right? You can say, oh, war broke out. War doesn't just break out, right? War is the continuation of politics by other means. And which means that there is a massive build up towards an armed conflict. So unfortunately, most people don't know or understand history, which makes them easy to propagandize, and which makes them easy to control politically. So an educated populace is a populace that is not easily politically controlled, and I think that is something that should definitely come back. Fortunately, I feel young people often that I meet are often very well educated and very aware. I think the internet has done a great deal in enabling people to get to know a lot of things that otherwise are not easy to find. And there's renewed interest in, say, Middle Ages, in the tribal times of the area that's today known as Germany. So I'm quite hopeful that eventually generations will grow up that will bring that back, and that can resist can resist being led into certain directions a lot more than the generations that grew up basically believing pretty much what you would read in the newspapers. All right, that was the personal political section. Let's talk Hearts of Iron. What's my next Hearts of Iron 4 campaign? I have since the video since the video was out, run the polls, and the next campaign is going to be Kaiserreich with China, which is both fascinating and also a little bit daunting, because it starts with me having to learn how to pronounce all the names. I hate mispronouncing names. I think it's such a mean of disrespect, and it's important for me that I try to pronounce names correctly, which means I also have to first of all learn that. But I also don't know an awful lot about the Chinese history of the period. First of all, because that wasn't ever taught as a subject, and sort of my studies of history are more focused on were more focused on the main theaters of World War I and II. So as such, I know what went on during World War II in China, but I didn't really know how it got to there. So gives me an opportunity always to read up on these things. And obviously, apparently, there has been a lot of work in the Kaiserreich mod on the Chinese nations or the Chinese warlord states. And as such, going to be very interesting to see what they've done there and bring that in. I am also interested in doing, this is something I was planning for a long time, in doing sort of side quest campaigns, like smaller campaigns on minor nations, because I think we're when it comes to that period of World War II, we tend to focus too much on the big powers. And like, how many people today will tell you that America won the Second World War against Germany single-handedly? Tell that to the British and the Russians, and the resistance everywhere, and a lot of other factors. Anyway, so yeah, I'm thinking of doing sort of minor nation on vanilla, so not outside of Kaiserreich, minor nation, smaller campaigns, just to kind of highlight their positions and their stories a little bit, and also because there are some interesting things there. When I'm playing Hearts of Iron 4 off screen, do I play like I play during videos? Yes. So how did I get into Hearts of Iron 4? I always wanted to play Axis and Allies, but unfortunately I never really had either the time or the people to play it with, the actual board game. So I figured, if I'm looking for something strategic depth that is not necessarily real time. I know Hearts of Iron 4 is real time, but I can pause at any time, which makes it for me not real time per se. It's a little bit more stressful than a pure turn-based game, but it's manageable. So I started with that, but I almost lost interest. I have started quite a few years back, actually. I almost lost interest because what I fell into, or the biggest issues I fell into, were hyper-focus and perfectionism. So I would hyper-focus on a single engagement somewhere and just completely ignore what else went on. And if things didn't go my way, I would abandon the run and start over again, try to make things perfect. So these were sort of the two biggest issues that I had with the game that made it not fun for me to play. And the way for me to overcome that was, first of all, to accept failure and to embrace the adapt and overcome mindset, which leads to actually much more enjoyable gameplay, to be honest. But to overcome the hyper-focus problem, I'm setting strategic goals. So I'm setting a strategic goal for my campaign and saying, this is what I'm trying to achieve. This is where I will end the game. This it can be anything from defeat this other country to survive this particular part to conquer the world, right? But I have a goal for the campaign, and when that is reached, then I will end the campaign. And then I break the strategic goals down into smaller ones, and then smaller tactical phases where I'm using offensive lines quite a bit, as you might have seen. And that's not just for planning, but that's also for, these are actually tactical goals. So this is designate these forces to this objective, get them to execute the objective, get them to reach this particular goal, and then stop, right? Stop, zoom out, and take a look around, make sure that everything else is still the way it's supposed to work. So that's helped me a lot, getting out of these sort of hyper-focus problems where I would have failed campaigns because I was just focusing too long on a single thing, and then something else was going completely catastrophically wrong, and I couldn't revert that anymore. What was the most fun I ever had in Hearts of Iron 4? I can tell you that. That's the free By Blood Alone DLC Ethiopia. So if you're not familiar, Ethiopia is the tutorial nation, but it's the target of the tutorial. So in the tutorial, you play as Italy because it's the only country that's at war at onset when the game starts, and Ethiopia is basically what you play against in the tutorial. So I would play as Ethiopia and defeat Italy. They have changed that a lot in By Blood Alone. I haven't really tried it since, but pre By Blood Alone, I had a success rate of about 60%. So 6 out of 10 runs I would actually manage to survive. And it has taught me an absolute crazy amount about how the division level mechanics are working. And that has served me really, really well since. And that challenge has been great fun because it's relatively small. You don't have to, you can start it quickly, right? If you start a major and you're not familiar with it, you have to spend like an hour on setup. You have to reorganize your navy. You got to get your economic plan out. You have to understand all the focus trees. You have to plan out your progression through that. You have to, sort out your production, your research, everything. So playing minor nations makes that a lot easier because the scope is just so much smaller. So honestly, that was one of the most fun things I've ever done, was the Ethiopia run. And I did one run at some point where I did manage to conquer all of Africa, and that's free By Blood Alone. So you did not have the I think it's African Union that you have as a formidable nation now. But I haven't attempted this. I might do it again with BBA, and just to see how that differs. But I haven't done it since. But that was the most fun. What's my favorite series on the channel? That's very hard to say, but I would probably say it's the Crusader Kings 3 series with Pendant. Might surprise you because definitely hasn't been the most successful one, but I really enjoyed the story very much, and I've actually had a lot of personal things going into that series. A lot of matters about death, aging, legacy, acceptance of certain things. So a lot of personal things went into that. And I honestly, when the series completed, I was really sad because I was missing the characters, and I had grown very fond of them, like in a way that you would if you've been watching a TV series for like a long time, like let's say Star Trek, well, it was still good, so DS9, right? Or Next Generation. When they end, it leaves such an emptiness in you, because you've grown so attached to these series that like having them end is just hard. And that's what was the feeling that I had with the Crusader Kings series with Bernard. So that was probably so far my favorite. But that doesn't mean that I don't like the other ones, or that I don't enjoy the other ones. I enjoy things for different reasons. And I think what I enjoy most about making very different series and coming up with different concepts is the design and production style of these series. I can play around with different visuals, with different ways of storytelling. So I'm actually thinking, and I did mention that I think in the previous video, I'm actually thinking to do something like a Fallout special where I would play Fallout 4. Not yet confirmed, but that would be something completely different. But I think I have some good ideas on the character and how to play that character, and that might be something that then I would again do for the story, for the character, and for the character growth out of things. What else? What do we have next? Yeah, the Game of Thrones mod for Crusader Kings 3. Have I read Game of Thrones or watched the TV series? I have not. I haven't read them because the author doesn't seem to be finishing it, and I'm not going to go 5,000 pages into a series, and then it turns out that he's written himself into a corner and he doesn't know how to finish the series. No, I'm not doing that to myself, no matter how good the books are. And I haven't actually seen the series. I've seen memes and I've seen like snippets and things. So I have heard that the ending was a massive disappointment because they ran out of books and then had to come up with a concept by themselves, and that went completely sideways. But like I said, mod would probably be tricky to give credence to without being too familiar with the lore that's behind everything. I have one mod for Crusader Kings 3 that's been mentioned was the After the End mod, because I was thinking to do a Fallout companion or a Fallout double feature sort of thing. So I was thinking of I forgot what it was called. There's a Hearts of Iron 4 Fallout mod. So I was thinking of playing Hearts of Iron 4 Fallout plus actual Fallout. But CK3 After the End, even though it's not the actual Fallout universe, but it's also sort of post-apocalyptic thing, that might be interesting as well. So we'll see. Warships Blitz. Yes. Am I one of the most asked questions? Am I going to get back to Warships Blitz? It's like I said in the last video, it is difficult for me. So I've since started playing. I can play 1, max 2 games a day, but then the stress becomes too much. So I have to be very careful with that. This obviously means that I don't get the necessary. It's not easy for me to make chip reviews of things, because I would have to play. I generally play somewhere like when I still did them. Well, first of all, I'm completely out of practice, and when I still did them, I used to play probably 10, 15, 20 games on a single ship just to get a feel for that thing and then make a qualified review. So that would probably take me anywhere from a week to 3 weeks just to do that. So right now I am trying to get back into it because I am missing it as well. It was a large part of my YouTube experience, and I just like the game in general. But what I'm looking at right now is attempting to make maybe an episode per week or every fortnight. We will see how it goes. It is to a degree a health issue that it's just hard for me to play online multiplayer games, especially like things that can get a little stressful. What was my win rate in World of Warships Blitz? I did have to look that up. I don't remember these things. So I have played 12,851 battles all in all, with a 64.35% win rate. So not particularly high. I know that there are people with an 80% win rate. You achieve that by teaming up. I mostly played solo because I mostly did ship reviews and things. So this is probably to like 95% or 98% of that is solo games. Have I played World of Warships PC? No, actually I haven't. I used to live, before we moved into the house, I used to live in a relatively small apartment, and there was simply no space for a gaming PC. I had a laptop. I still have that. It's in a shelf over there. It's right over there. I have an old 15-inch HP Omen with massive temperature problems, but that probably would have run World of Warships. But at the time, the time investment and the grind was just kind of off-putting. I have religiously watched Jingles, Flambus, and Flamu, and a few other big World of Warships YouTubers when that was still big on YouTube. Okay, even Jingles has gone off the World of Warships content at this point. So I think it's no, I haven't played it, and I wouldn't get into it. I have tried to get into Legends when it came out on mobile, but that also, just the amount of work to work yourself into these extremely time-consuming games is massive. And in the end, I think Blitz is what I might go back to, just because I have spent so much time on the game. And don't ask me about how much money I've spent on it. But World of Warships PC has never really been an issue. What is the path in Suzerain? Communist. That was the plan. Suzerain series has started and has been very well received so far, so I'm very happy about that. Obviously, I make the series because I want to, not because I'm looking for views. Otherwise, I'd probably be playing League of Legends or something like that. Is Fortnite still a thing? Do people still play that? Do people still play World of Warcraft? I don't know. I don't know what the big million view MMOs are these days. But it's not my kind of thing. So as you have seen with the Crusader Kings, I can be making a series that gets watched by 100 people per episode. And I'd be totally happy to still make it because I thoroughly enjoy making it. And But obviously, it's nice to see that something is well received. So, Suzerain Path Communist. I have been told that it is apparently the hardest path, and I'm playing this blind, so I have no idea what I got myself into. But which means I'm reading absolutely everything and probably overthinking everything way too much. But I'm enjoying it so far. It's a nice challenging challenging setup for that. Would I play Victoria 3? Well, absolutely. I definitely like Paradox games so far. I mean, I've played Hearts of Iron and Crusader Kings. I would need practice, though. So I would need to sink a decent amount of time. I have no idea how much time I have spent in Hearts of Iron 4. It's actually not as much as a lot of the other professional players have. Nowhere near. I don't have nowhere near. It might be like probably about 1,000 hours at this point, which isn't a lot for Hearts of Iron, I think. But I would need games with that sort of depth. I need to spend a decent amount of time with. So I would definitely be interested in Victoria. I'd be interested in Europa Universalis 5, I think is the latest. I'd be interested in Stellaris as well, because I do quite love science fiction and space stuff. So if I do get something that's more spacey based, I used to play. Oh, okay. Little side story. When I was in high school, I had what was my PC at the time? It was a 586 with 133 megahertz. That was my third or fourth PC back then. But that's when we started. It was a tower, so that thing alone weighed about 30 kilos, and I had a 17-inch CRT which weighed another 30 kilos. And we started. Network was starting to become available for the general public. So I had that was before dial-up modems. were a thing. But what we did was we would do LAN parties, basically, privately organized. So we would meet up at some friend's house and for a weekend. So Saturday morning, we'd bring all our hardware over and then spend a few hours trying to get the Ethernet cards to work with Windows 95, and which was always an adventure. But once we had that sorted, then we were playing Quake, Duke Nukem, and Master of Orion in multiplayer mode. And Master of Orion was just amazing back then. I very much enjoy the memory of that in multiplayer mode. So some sort of space strategy game, still something that I'm very keen to do. What's the future of the intros? Well, that's another funny one, right? So the whole intro idea, I can't even remember where it exactly. I think that was still on the old channel. I did a few PC games on the other channel before I split off this one, actually. But the whole idea was just starting around. So I used to make a lot of shorts about Warships Blitz, where I could let out the creativity a little bit more. You know what I mean? And I like that idea of doing this sort of semi-documentary style, but I think mostly I just did like one for the beginning of the campaign and then never again. And even with I think it was the Germany campaign where I did this more in earnest, but even there I did it like every 3-4 episodes maybe, simply because it was a lot of work. But I've gotten better at it. I have a larger archive at this point of historic material that is licensed, that is copyright free, or that is licensed respectfully. I have more material available now, and I'm now, as you see, I'm making it sort of a mainstay of every episode. That is actually the biggest chunk of work on production, to be honest. But I've also, with practice, gotten a little better of it. So where do we go from this with these? Where do I want to push it next? One thing, and this is probably very controversial, one thing I'm curious to try again would be AI videos, but they would have to be good enough that I have tried this a little bit in the Russia series early on, and in the Crusader Kings series early on, but the quality was just never great. It was more gimmicky, so I've stopped using that. But that's something with the current models that I might be interested to get back into. But then, if I was going to do that, then I would be spending time learning proper cinematography and do this on a more professional production level. Now, I am a one-man operation, so I do everything. Which means that it has to be, but it's a field that's interesting to me because I love movies, and especially I'd say anything pre 2010-ish, when Hollywood was still doing good movies and not the rubbish that they're churning out these days. So I do enjoy older movies quite a bit as well. So sort of 70s, 80s, but even 60s, 50s. There's quite some stuff that I do enjoy. But I did grow up in the 80s, so a lot of this period. But I've always been quite interested in that. So this would be a fascinating area. So if I can start making more professional AI videos for intros. In the end, it's always to build or to help building the universe. So the core is the story, and the everything else is it has to support the story. It has to be supplementary to that, not out of its own right. But that would be an interesting challenge. Guest voices probably not. It's quite hard to organize when my day is so fractured, and I have I need to have a relatively large output because of how YouTube works. So most likely not. Same goes for live streaming. Yeah, that's too stressful. Also, obviously, time zone wise. So I would have to do that, given that the majority of viewers would be America based. So I would have to do it during US times, which is nighttime here in Australia. And that just doesn't work with health and life and everything. So yeah, that's not right now. If I'm making videos, I have to take breaks every 20 minutes or so. And this is not something I could do on a live stream. So that's not happening. If you want to see my face, you see the channel update videos on occasion. There you get that. Total War. Have I played that game? I have not. I've heard of them. I mean, there's not just one. There's a fair few of them. I've heard that it's real-time strategy to a degree, and I'm hesitant to play RTS for the aforementioned reasons, because the only reason I can play Hearts of Iron is because I can pause extremely frequently, which probably drives some people up the wall. But just move a step, take a break, look around, gather my thoughts, move a step. That's the sort of process. I actually prefer turn-based games for that particular reason. I might check it out one day, just to give it a spin and see how it goes, and if it would be something for the channel. Someone was asking if I'm considering other formats for my videos. I'm not entirely sure. Do you mean like a different style of video? I was thinking, I did mention that I am working on trying to make this sort of semi-documentary style for the Hearts of Iron series. So to compress 100+ hours of gameplay into 25 minutes, but with a not in the typical and now here I'm cheesing with paratroopers and bathtub submarines kind of thing, but more as a semi-documentary almost. So I'm still working on this. Is a crazy amount of work. So I'm working on that. It'll come out when it's ready. But in general, I can't deviate too much from a concept on it. So a channel on YouTube has to have a concept. And the concept for this channel is to combine gaming and storytelling, both, well, just telling and also visual storytelling with the use of some cinematics. So that is going to be the theme of this channel. And under this umbrella, I am looking to make videos. Now, I might throw the occasional tutorial in there for things that I'm really know. I've done this for a bit for Hearts of Iron 4, but they're not super popular, just because there are big tutorial channels out there that go into every detail. So what do you need me for that sort of thing? But yeah, it's other than that, no, I'm going to stick to the sort of storytelling, but what I'm going to vary is the kind of games. So I'm definitely thinking of putting not just grand strategy in here, but also other things. If they work as a basis for that enables me to tell a story. Let me put it that way. Am I planning to play Baldur's Gate 3? I have been thinking about it just because of how famous that game is, but that already has narration and a story. So I'm not entirely certain how well that would fit in. Maybe I'll do it at some point. Like, for example, my kids gotten me into playing Elden Ring, and I can play for a little bit, but that stuff is also stressful. And I wouldn't feature Elden Ring on the channel simply because it's not suitable for it, right? It doesn't fit into the concept of the channel. This is the last question. Have I played any, or am I playing any tabletops or war games? So when I was young, that neatly ties it back to the beginning, because the first question is how old am I? When I was young, I used to play passionately a sort of German version or a German copy of D&D. As D&D wasn't particularly big in Germany at the time, but there was a local sort of similar tabletop game that we've played a lot as in my high school years, but I haven't done that since. And I have been recently starting to read quite a bit on Warhammer 40k, so I'm starting to build up the Black Library over there in the other room. I've made my way through the Eisenhorn collection so far, and starting with Morven Vale next. Just because the universe, I find it fascinating. But the temptation, because I did a lot of model building, not like a miniature, but more like plastic models sort of thing. In the past, not so much more recently, but I would love to pick that up again. And obviously the temptation to do that on miniatures as well would be great. But given the health constraints, it would be taking too much time to get actively into such a hobby. And right now it would take too much of my energy. But I love the theme and the area. And if I had the time, Warhammer 40k might be something that I might be interested in. Definitely D&D would be something I would enjoy, but it can be difficult to make the time, because I know how much time these sessions take. It'd be difficult to take the time, to make the time for it. And again, health restrictions on my part right now. I have to focus my energy on other things. So yeah, I might do model build. I might pick up model building again. I still have a stash of shame in the garage, and all my paints are probably good for the landfill at this point. But I'd be keen to try that again, or to come back to that again. But in due time, I have to limit myself, and right now my focus is on making videos for YouTube. So that was I've tried to group things a bit. How are we at? 51 minutes. Yeah, I figured that would be taking a little bit of time. So it was great to see you all. And like I said, welcome to everybody who's new to the channel. Welcome. And of course, good to have everyone around, and to a bright future of more interesting things and fun things to come. I have many ideas that I want to realize. So definitely not going to run out of stuff anytime soon. Right, I'll see you all around for the next video. I'm not sure if I'm going to make a Hoi 4 video for tomorrow, or if I'm just going to be releasing this one tomorrow. I'll try, depends on how things go. But otherwise, whatever comes next out. I think Monday is going to be Crusader Kings Day. So Hearts of Iron 4 will be out on Tuesday again. We'll see. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day, have a good Sunday, and in general, take care.